Don't kick the table. Hello. Okay, so we're back. I had the idea of actually creating this demo with, well, the idea behind it is to instruct and also to teach and to prepare people that might want to be interested in starting painting. I think it's a very cool idea or a very cool way of actually starting something new. And what better person than myself that has been practicing with many different papers. And I actually have two papers with me available, and I also have the Canson. But right now I would like to show you with what I'm going to do the painting. And prior of this broadcast, I actually was creating a painting with Fabriano Artistico, which is actually my preferred paper for practice and stuff like that. You can get any type of paper. I'm going to show you the paper that I'm using at the moment, or that we're going to use. This is Artisa. Okay, this thing comes with 32 sheets. Okay, I think that by the end of this whole roll of paper, you should be at least mastering how to create light in watercolor, or some things that are simple you can do with this paper without having to create something with or pouring too much water. So it's actually pretty cool. This is actually cold pressed. It's 140, and it's Artisa. I mean, you know, this company is a brand new company, and I actually like them. I really like the company. I like how the campaign and everything, how they do their things. And I actually bought both. I actually bought the watercolors, and I actually bought the paper. This is something that I had in a box for a while, as well as canvas panels. But obviously that's for another medium. All right. And then, of course, you already met my friend, but for some of you, they'll probably be replaying this stuff. You have seen me, I have used this. We were actually talking about hooe, and this is my go-to, either to do paintings at home or online or wherever it is. This is actually a go-to box where you can paint at your convenience anywhere. You can put the piece of paper here, as you can tell, and then you can paint your whatever it is that you want to do. I have a random material which I haven't really used much, but I think that we're going to use it with this painting. These are actually watercolor pencils, and for some people might not like them. I've heard all kinds of stuff. This is very cheap. This is Fantasia. Actually, when I moved to New Jersey, this was my first pack. I just wanted to do something, and so it has been beat up for years, more than 4 or 5 years. So here they are. We're not going to use all of them. Please don't fall. We're not going to use all of them. As you can tell, I'm missing at least 3 in here. That's how old it is. But they're actually pretty cool. And I can use it instead of actually buying or getting a... You can use color pencils as actual... watercolor pencils as actual color pencils. And of course, I also use color pencils myself, or I've been using color pencils, and so I've been actually practicing with both. Alrighty, so as promised, we're going to do a rubbing, and it's a very cute picture that I actually found on Pixabay. It's gonna be very, very quick, so this shouldn't take long. Alright, so I'm just gonna lift this up a little bit. Hopefully I don't kick you out by banging the thing. And what we're going to do is that we're going to use the color pencil as my sketching tool, and I'm going to also show you how to use these color pencils. So the first thing that I'm going to do first is that I'm going to do this a little bit lower. What I like about the paper, I mean, I love it, but I'm used to the press paper of both sides. Like, I want to feel that pressing from both sides, and I feel like this watercolor paper only has the pressing downwards. Is it an advantage? I don't know. I don't think it's an advantage. That's the only thing that I truly don't like about the paper. However, for practice purposes and for someone that is starting, I say go ahead, you know. I believe they also have a more expensive paper. I'm not sure if I'm saying it correctly, or a paper that it could be done with, or it can be used for a little bit more of a professional work. So we have this robin. I thought it was a very cute picture, and I say, hey, you know what? I can do some really cool stuff with this. Let me just put it online and do the demo, because I haven't been able to paint a bird in a while, and so why not? And we're just gonna do one leg here. Actually, I'm not really careful about how I do these things, as long as it looks like a bird. But I really like to at least get the shape well, because otherwise it will look flat. So, and also the eyes. Another thing for the eyes, if you really have to leave that space right there where you can have like the highlight, because if you don't get the highlight, then it won't look like an actual bird. So that's the only thing for the birds. The rest, you know, you do your thing. And we have that almost bird done. So with colored pencils, what it is actually, instead of having that wax that with the watercolor pencil, instead of having that wax that the color pencils have, these one have less wax, and it's basically just the medium itself. And so it can be diluted with water. So that's the difference between watercolor pencils and color pencils. So in other words, it's a color pencil. It's an actually colored pencil, but without the waxing. That's all, okay? It's the same thing with every medium. Water, they actually mix it, the watercolors, they actually mix it with the gum and something else to create the watercolor, or honey. And then the color pencils, they mix it with wax. The oils, they mix it with the oils. Acrylics, they mix it with a bunch of, God knows what they put in there, plastic stuff. That's what makes acrylics, etc., etc. And of course, you buy professional type of acrylics, then you buy a better quality. That's for everything. Now, another thing that I wanted to put as a topic is that where to buy this stuff. I actually go online for Jerry's Artorama, and when I can't find them, I can actually just buy them in Amazon. There's really no discount. I don't do the whatever some people they like to do, like, oh, if you type in my name, you get discount. I don't do any of that stuff. I'm just letting you know, like, ideas so you can buy your own thing. It's necessary that you buy from an exact brand. Not so much. You can buy from any brand that you would like. As long as it's, you know, convenient to you, because you don't want to start spending tons and tons of money, you know, on art materials and then really not use it. You really want to also get acquaintance with the medium. So I prefer for you to start off with maybe a kit or two, even if it's a children's watercolor. It doesn't matter. You can do that until you can get acquaintance with the medium. You really have to like it, because watercolor is kind of like unruly, and some people don't have the patience to deal with it. So you really want to try it first, practice, and then later on, if you want to commit, it's almost like a marriage. If you really want to commit, almost like if you were courting someone, and you were like dating someone, and then at the end of it, you're like, no, I don't think so. I don't want to marry you. Something like that. And believe me, there's going to be years where you're still going to, like, watercolor will give you a headache and will mess up. When your painting will mess up. I think that you will never learn completely, or you will never cease to learn with watercolors. So that's how unruly it is. And of course, some people like to call themselves masters of watercolor. I call myself always an apprentice, because believe me, you will never learn. It will never be enough. Every day is a learning lesson with this medium specifically. However, why I like it so much is because I feel, and that's something that my art teacher also teach me. I worked with him for like about 2 years, and then after 2 years, I moved to South Jersey. But he was always on top of me saying, hey, you know what? Once you acquire watercolors, once you get acquaintance with watercolor, you can actually, the other mediums will be easier for you, because you're starting from the most difficult one, which is the actual watercolors. And you know what? In the beginning, it didn't make no sense because I really wanted him to teach me how to do oils. And I thought he was actually not wanting to teach me oils and instead of watercolors. And I hated watercolors in the beginning. And then later on, I kind of fell in love with the medium. And right after, so I've been doing this for many, many years after that. And I don't regret it because it has taught me. What else I was gonna say? There's also Strathmore paper, which is actually pretty cool paper as well. And that's the paper that I actually started working with. And then of course, there is also Canson paper. You can use Canson paper. And you have the more expensive one, which is Arcs, and you have Fabriano, and you have, which is actually the brand name, not only the brand name, but the professional kind of paper. You have Daler-Rooney. Daler-Rooney is actually a pretty cool paper, and I have used it in several of my works. Actually, big works I have done with Daler-Rooney, straight from the store. And what else I was gonna say? I've used several types of paper. One of the papers that I actually got in love, or fell in love just a little bit, not too much. I still think that Fabriano is king, but it's actually Waterford. It's an actually English, it's the English paper, and it's actually pretty good. And for a second, I almost divorced Fabriano and married Waterford, but then I prefer Fabriano because I can get it in packs over here, and Waterford was not too pricey, but it comes from England, so it takes a bit of time. And of course, I'm a little bit desperate. Anyways, so those basically some of the papers. If you need a list of papers, please go online and just, I'm always in Twitter. I try my best to give you information. So if you haven't as yet, you can ask me any questions and I'll be more than gladly, as much as I can, of course, because I think that after this, I'm just going straight to sleep. But anyways, we're going to layer, even though I'm actually using a little bit more of an opaque color. I'm going to try and use both colors. Like I'm going to try and use what we have here, like the color pencils, and at the same time, the watercolor. So like that, you guys have an idea on how to do this. And we can even use the colored pencils. I think it's actually a pretty cool idea. So yeah, I haven't been here like in forever. It's, it's kind of like a shame, but I have to admit I needed some time off. I wasn't feeling it. There was a lot of people were. I'm sure that it wasn't not only me. So a lot of people worry. Jobs were scarce. Some of the people that I actually talked to, they were losing their jobs. My friends, people that I work with have passed away. Most of my friends worked in a senior center, and they were nurses and CNAs, and they were all telling me how scary and how confused people were. They don't know what to do, and they were dying. And it was just really sad. And I just think that it had affected me, like mentally, like I really needed to be in a better place. So that's why you haven't seen me here, but hopefully I reinstate a little bit more on the painting side, and then we can just go from there. So I do apologize if you haven't seen me. It wasn't like, I just needed some time off because, like I said on my other broadcast, I actually do this from the bottom of my heart, but at the same time you have to be in a very good place to be able to create. Not that I was in a bad place, I just felt like I needed some time for myself. So the picture that I'm using, of course, is not the greatest because it's a freedom, but we can do parts of it and then we'll take it. So what we're going to do is we're going to deal with the watercolor first, and then we're going to add little by little, we're going to add the color pencil, because I think we can actually manage it that way. I'm not sure, maybe somebody else will deal with it a different way. Not necessarily you have to create a bird. You can use the same, I always say, use your imagination to create other things. because even though the demo is free, some of the techniques that I use here, you can use it on your own with your own thing or things. Someone once asked me if I actually painted just for the heck of it, or did I actually paint because I have an idea in mind, and I'm actually painting because I want to create this because of my story behind it, whatever. Because some people believe, even in the art world, and I have heard many artists saying that us artists were like poets and like writers, and we have to have a story behind what we do. Not necessarily all the time, but some of us, we are very poetic and very, talkative. And if we're not talkative, we're very just, that type of people that are very whimsical, I guess. And the answer is that I actually paint for the heck of it. I never resolve as to what I want to do. It just comes up. I feel the need to paint for X or Y reason, and I just do it. I don't have a specific when I do it. Another thing that a lot of our people that come here and ask me, they ask me what's the difference between myself and other artists. And the difference is that this is not my actual job. So I left being a full-time artist about 7 years ago. But that means that I was a full-time artist and I fed myself with what I make. So I take it very seriously still. And another question was if I actually sell my work, and the answer is yes. But as for now, because of what happened with the COVID, I'm actually on hold until further notice. And other people were asking me, or asked me if, is this what I do, only watercolors? And the answer is no. I actually do oils, acrylics, and all kinds of cool stuff, because as you know, us artists, most of us, we have to be trained in every single medium in order for us to create something that we can call masterpiece, right? So every single medium you can think of, which is pretty cool. However, I also learned that when you're creating online, it's almost like if you were selling. So you have to create things that people might want to buy. So you have to go with that. Not necessarily has to do with what you might think in your heart that this is what I want to do. It's more about what people like. So take that into consideration as well. If you want to enter this through online, of course, online venue is different than the art world. It's a whole separate world, believe it or not. And a lot of people actually, I thought it was backwards. Like I thought it was the other way around. I thought, oh, well, people that are online doesn't have a privilege as people that are not online. And the truth is that a lot of artists that are not selling online, they're basically on the galleries and stuff like that, consider selling online an actual commodity, an actual, they want to do this. They want to create and to have people buying from them online. It's a commodity for them. So don't underestimate if you want to do it online or not. Regardless, most important thing is that you can survive with what you do, but at the same time, just to bring your creativity to the world. You're giving something positive, okay? Because that's what we're trying to do. All right. So I don't know if you're noticing, but I'm basically just rubbing off that green all over the place. So I'm kind of sort of cheating at the same time. And the way I'm actually doing this is called dry into wet, which means that the paper was dry and I'm actually creating with, or just doing it with the wet brush. And then of course you have wet into wet, which means that the paper is wet, the brush is wet, and you have wet into wet. So that's the difference between them two. Someone also asked me that if it's true that there was two techniques, and I said no because I really didn't know. And then he was saying, well, you're actually doing dry into wet, but it's something that not everybody likes to work that way. if you're starting off, you will love it because it gives you more control. All right, so I'm going to, oops, I need that tip of that brush to be a little bit more. It's actually, you know what, I kind of just mistaken the eye. I have to be very, very careful where I position the eye, but we're just gonna work with what we got. The eye was supposed to be just a tad bit more away than what it is. But you already have it there. And then just want to make sure that the beak is where it's supposed to. And whatever I cannot grab from with my brush, I will actually use the color pencil. So just gonna outline the part of the head. And I think the eye was supposed to be around here, but we're gonna work it that way. We're gonna make it work. So I'm outlining, and I'm also going to use more dark color for this side. Another thing that I've heard a lot of people, like people that in the beginning they're doing creating, just gonna put you a little bit more focus so you see what I'm doing. There you go. Okay, a lot of people that are beginning, like beginners working watercolors, another thing that they might want to get is like expensive brushes, because you know, us artists, like the first thing that we like to show off is actually the actual brushes. But just remember that those artists have been painting for a very long time, so they probably have bigger quantities, beautiful quantities of real hair brushes. I say with this one is from Low Cornell. This is like $7. So don't buy expensive stuff until you can get the rhythm of watercolors. You don't want to be frustrated with just because, you know, I had a friend of mine who was a hairstylist, and he was like, you know, if you're a good hairstylist, you're supposed to perform well with good materials or bad materials, or at least decent. Which means that when you're practicing with watercolors, you should be able to perform well with both mediums. Okay? So just for practice, no need to buy expensive stuff. Okay, and then we're going to do a little bit of shadow here and there. And you notice that instead of the orange, I went straight to using that dark, kind of like a dark brown. I'm sorry, instead of the orange, I'm using the yellow. All right, bottom part of the bird, I'm just going to scrape a little bit of that paint off. Or I'm basically, I don't have no napkins, so I'm slapping my brush to make it very dry and very basically light without no much wet or water. And then to add some shadow, I'm just gonna rub it around, same color here. That's gonna help me once I start layering the orange color. Not everywhere, but you know what I'm saying, right? We're going to do the same thing here. All right, remember that I'm actually not doing what I was going to say. I'm not wetting this paper. Also take in consideration that the type of paper that you're using, the weight of the paper, it will influence on how the artwork, how much water you can put onto your artwork. So it really doesn't make no sense of actually using wetting to wet on a paper that is so light. And like I said, if you ever get to use this paper, which is the Artisa, you will notice that it has all the fibers going downwards. It doesn't have a second pressing. And that's the way the paper was created. It doesn't have a second pressing. So if there's a paper like that, why would you want to add more water into it? You're just gonna ruin the paper. And I'm just here finishing the leg. And actually this bird has something covering the tail of it, and I didn't notice until now, but we're gonna have to work with that. And there's also a leg that you can't see, so we're going to say it's right here. Okay, it's right there. Alright, okay, so we're going to take care of this brush and put it away. I usually just squeeze my brush away like this, squeeze it off, and make sure that it's completely clean. And if you want to wash them after you're done, you can go ahead with a little bit of soapy water, because the medium will stay in there and actually corrode your brush. What else I was gonna say? Not necessarily has to do with some people like to just wash their brushes with a painter's soap. You really don't have to. All right, so here is the watercolor. This is Fantasia, also very cheap watercolors. And then again, if you want to use professional kinds, they actually have professional watercolors, which are actually deeper, more redder than this. But we're going to add the little little by little color on top of this. All right, and so what you see me doing here is basically just adding the watercolor pencil as if it was watercolor pencil as if it was color pencils. Watercolor pencils as if it was watercolor pencils. Watercolor pencils as if it was color pencils. Okay, got it. My mind kind of went frustrated there. All right. So this is for the orange color that the bird has on his chest. And remember that we were actually adding some parts there with with some bluish tones. We're going to overlap that color on top of. Remember that the way, I don't know if you can see, but the grains of the paper don't allow me to do this. But if you want, you can actually cross hatch it as well. Just like a color pencil. If you were doing this with a color pencil, you will do the same thing. So, all right. So we're going to start overlapping. So we're going to use this one, and there is like a yellow orange that looks kind of weird, but I'm going to use this yellow orange color, and we're going to again use it on top of, I'm pressing a little bit more on top of that orange, so it can give me about the same color of a robin's chest. All right. I think it makes it difficult when because the paper is just, everything is going downwards, but you get the idea. All right. Let's see if I can actually, the idea is actually to incorporate also color pencils, so let's see. Just a little bit of that grayish tone. Just a little bit. Remember that this is going to be spread. And one thing though is that these colors are actually very, even though they're cheap, they're actually pretty strong. Okay, we're going to, let me see if I can find it. There's a blue color around here that I'm going to just also and on the beak right here. Use that blue. Okay. Now we're going to use a not so thin but not so thick brush. I think this one will do. And we're going to just spread with the water. But it should have changed a long time ago. But we're just gonna spread it with the water. And we're having our watercolor basically just it's almost like activating that watercolor pencil. And you see how different it looks when it's wet. It's very, very strong. And I don't know why, but when I first moved there, I looked at I didn't bought watercolors. I bought my watercolor pencils. Don't know why. Just didn't want to spend on watercolors, I guess. And then, thank you for the hearts, by the way. I don't know you, but I appreciate your support. And almost, oh, I forgot one layer of color, which was the red one. But since it's wet, we're gonna have to add the color pencil. Watercolor. Okay. And then on the bottom part, remember that we add a little bit of that blue. So we're just gonna rub it all over. And you have the grayish tone. I'm gonna come here to my dark black. We're going to add some. And then again, oops, there's a hair. Gotta be careful with water pockets and hairs. So just basically just depositing that color in there. And this leg doesn't look like it's there, but I don't want to also go nuts with it. Just kind of like make a fake leg right there. Alrighty, so our birdie's almost done, and we're going to, I don't know if I should let it dry here or just overlap the red. Let me see, where's the red? It actually has Fantasia. You know what, even though they're not like professional kind, it still gives you a pretty decent array of colors. And then again, you know, you're buying something basic and not too expensive. I don't remember how much they were, but I didn't bought them for much. So I'm just basically overlapping the red color on top of that orangey color, because you know it's a red robin, right? We're a robin bird. One of my friends, Robin Pedrero's birds, because her name is Robin. So Robin, if you're watching, it's a nice bird. Okay. And then over here, we're just gonna give just a little bit more. I think that my my paper here is fighting with it a little bit, but it's okay. We don't matter as long as it comes out decently. And then at least you guys, thank you. At least you guys have an idea on how to create with both mediums, with the watercolor and the colored pencils. And you also see how to manage on cheap paper, which is the Arteza or Artesa. Arteza en español. Okay. Now I'm a little bit more myself. People that know me. Then I'm a bit like, I love color. Has to be because I'm Puerto Rican, I don't know. But I love color, so what I'm going to do is that I'm going to dip my brush in this really jaune again. That's my favorite color. Sometimes I cannot say that that color is actually transparent. This is a very, very difficult color, and only that I have seen is from Holbein. So I don't know if you can tell or you can see it from there. All right, it's almost like a chalky type of like fleshy color. I'm gonna wet a little bit more so I can actually show you. Pretty sure you can see, but I'm going to show you on the piece of paper so you can tell how it looks. So that's the color. That's jaune, J-A-U-N-A. And this is from Holbein. And you know what I was thinking, since it's a Chinese watercolor, I'm thinking that this color is almost like fleshy tone, and perfect for people that create manga. Okay, I call it almost like, this is almost like makeup. You've seen the base makeup color for women? That's almost like the color. So that color and that other orange color, almost like yellow color that I have right here, are one of my favorite, very potent. I use it a lot in my flowers. That's what I'm going to add on the orange on the middle side, just because I want that potent color to show through of the bird, and I still can mimic the colors of the bird itself. So it's pretty cool when you're painting. You realize how very complex creation is in general, and I have not but to feel so blessed that I know that we do have a creator that cares and that doesn't put those complex colors in there for a reason, because I don't think this is by explosion. They're just too complex sometimes, and the way they are specifically located on the birds, not only the birds, the flowers too, they're complex. Their design is complex. So that's something that on a little creature like that, it's like somebody sat down and just decided to make it very complex. And that's the part that that's why I love to create, and I love to create birds or flowers, because I admire that fact. Regardless if you believe in a creator or not, I still have to say it because it's true. Complexity. Anyways, we're almost done with this bird. I told you that it was going to be very, 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 very easy. And is that a helicopter? What? All right. Okay. And just to give you as like let me just do this. Okay, just to give you like more ideas as to what you can do, just because I really want to do this. We're going to get the color pencils, and so I can show you guys, so I can show you guys how to create with colored pencils and watercolors. So recently I bought these babies. These are my babies and my recent lows. They are Faber-Castell, the infamous or famous polychromos. Okay, these are my babies right here, and this is color pencils. And what I'm going to use from here is the white pencil. However, this white pencil that you see here, that is almost about to be done, is from La la la. It's from another company. Xoxo. They're not polychromos. They're from. Let me see. I have a bunch of pencils over here. Hold on. This one is from. Where are you? Prismacolor. This white pencil that you see here is actually from Prismacolor, and the reason that I'm actually pointing out to this color is because I prefer for the white highlights, instead of using watercolor, you can actually do with watercolors. I prefer to use the Prismacolor white with every single watercolor. I don't know, like I have become obsessed once I found out how good it is for highlights. So I would recommend you, again, this is just me because I've used this, remember, you know, being here for a while anyways. Ever since I found out that this color is very potent, I'm going to show you how the wax is in. And the highlight really shows up on the paper. I fell in love with it. So this baby right here is from Prismacolor. Prismacolor is not too cheap, okay, my friend? It's about $7 a piece of just one pencil. It's about $7 to $8. And just in case so you have an idea on how the white looks, we're going to try here. So here's the white pencil against the watercolor, so you know how it's going to actually pop up. And this is Prismacolor on top of the fluid watercolor. This is the reason why I was like, yes. So for highlights, I use the Prismacolor pencil. Not for everything. My wash is still king on my ordeal with the watercolors, but so you have an idea on how to do highlights. So for our little baby here, we're going to do a couple highlights, okay? The only thing that I don't like about color pencils is the time. It takes time, as if, you know, with watercolors we did 10 minutes and that's it. Color pencil takes more time. I'm not very happy about that. However, mixing watercolors, right, and mixing color pencils, then that's pretty cool, pretty neat. I don't have to kill myself doing something just full color pencils. I think all mediums have a potential, and I also believe that doesn't matter the medium, as long as you want to paint. I think that it's good for you, good for us, right? All right, so we're gonna do several highlights. Do here. I'm gonna do here. I'm gonna do here. This is very what's it called? Some people say, oh, but if you're using color pencils with the watercolor, then it's no longer a watercolor. It's a mixed media, blah blah blah. Don't worry about it. The medium, like as long as the biggest medium that you use is actually watercolor, so it's still watercolor. But if you want to call it mixed media, that's fine too. However, if you were to make a competition, like if you were to do on a competition and you say, oh, I make this watercolor, they will actually count how much of the other medium you actually use, and perhaps not be noted as a watercolor. So it depends on what you want to use your creativity, right? Because if you're going on competition and you say, oh, I created this is a watercolor, but you actually mix, like this painting is mixed media, is more both than anything. So on a competition it will be different. This will not be called a complete watercolor, but more like a mixed media. But it really doesn't matter, you know, just for a thought. But I mean, that's when you want to go on to a big competition, if ever that happens to us. All right, because it's obviously a mixed media, but the biggest color here that we're actually using, biggest medium, is actually watercolor. So I don't know, I don't make the rules, I'm just saying. And I don't know if you can tell how that white is actually transforming this bird, right? Hopefully you can. So what happens with the white is it actually is helping me. Yeah, exactly. It's actually helping me develop the bird. Even the color is actually helping with the coloring too. So that's what we want. And the details also, you know, much better. So that's the reason why, after I found out what you can do with mixing all this together, and of course my beloved watercolor becomes even better now because I can do all kinds of stuff. All right, I'm going to, I don't know if I should do the blue. Guess why not? I'm going to just outline just a little bit over here, because who's going to be watching? It is our painting anyways, and it gives you also kind of like ideas for you to do your own work and to really expand. Because I was also very when it comes to materials, like, oh, I don't want to mix them because then it's no longer a watercolor. As if somebody that's actually watching me and saying, don't use it. This is for us to create, to do better. So I say use every single thing that you have in your hands. Don't limit yourself. That's what I'm trying to say. Don't limit yourself. Create with all kinds of things. Do beautiful things. I just saw a paintings that they're done actually with mixed media. I think it's acrylic and oils, and they look gorgeous. So imagine that. This is kind of like the dark blue. Another thing that I wanted to ink up is that you don't necessarily, and that's with both, with colored pencils and also watercolors, you not necessarily have to mix things with black. And I actually like to, if I'm going to mix in the black color or dark color, I like to just add colors that are dark, so like that I don't have to do that. All right. And I know some people might want to do more, but I think this is it for me. I'm going to, if you missed it, please review it, play it back, play it forward. I'm going to be with my hubby soon. I want to thank you for giving me the time and the chance to actually explain some stuff to you. I appreciate your time. Check my links if you're interested. I'm in Twitter. They're hanging out with my social media artist friends. And I will see you guys on the next one. This time is for sure. Okay? Thank you so much again for viewing. And actually that blue color with this pencil, mark this spot right here. Okay? I'll see you guys we're going to sign it just because. Let me see. What? Hold on. Oh, why should I sign it with watercolors when I can sign it with a pen? Where are you? Oh, right here. So we're gonna sign this baby. Actually, there's like, but that's okay. It's not gonna clip us. All right, my friends. Date of the year that we'll seeing how this world is going local, right? But at least there's still good things coming out of it. That's it. I'm beat. I'm done. I'll see you guys later. Thank you again. What else I was gonna say? Nothing. I'll catch you guys around. Hopefully, when the camera phone that I actually ordered comes, I will be able to do better videos and longer videos as well. And let's see. I'm super excited because, like I said, I wanted to use that for my other social media. So it's pretty cool. I hope that you guys learned something. I hope that you guys learn how to mix this watercolor and make it interesting. And again, if you miss the materials, if you miss to talk about the papers, if you miss all that stuff, play it forward, okay? It's all there, all that info is in there. You didn't miss much, you just miss me talking and blabbing about types of paper. I feel like as we growing as an artist, like as we kind of just hit, you know, we're growing as artists and practicing and doing all that stuff. I think the marriage with paper is the same way. I work with Winsor & Newton. I also work with Winsor & Newton, like the paints. And I work with, I believe it was Dr. H. Martin, the paints as well. I worked with Holbein, I worked with Jarka, I have worked with Balleruni, I worked with, what else is there? There's a bunch of brands, there's a lot of brands. And I always have come with the same, come with the same like resolution. Actually, I bought Artisa recently. I have some of the tubes around. This is Artisa right here. Artisa watercolors. So I have come with the whole spiel about materials is, like I said, if you want to just practice and it's the beginning of your journey, I mean, you know, why would you want to spend $300? You know, just go with the basics. There's online these days, you know, that there's no missing information nowhere. You go online, you go on YouTube, and you type in how to create a block of paper, or how to create, or how to stretch watercolor, and there's like hundreds and hundreds of videos teaching you how to do that. Back in the day, of course, I didn't have that, so I had to learn all that stuff by myself. And you know, if that's in case you want the paper to be stretched, it really doesn't affect me. The way I work, like I said, my colors are very potent. That Holbein color is potent, goes through anything, so it's very cool. And another thing is that get to know your materials. Even if you buy something cheap, get to know the materials, because you can create beautiful things even with cheap paper. Believe me, I've had that experience. And another thing is patience. You have to have patience for everything, and you gotta wait your turn. As the layers dry, take your time, don't go crazy, because I think that's one of the things that I've learned with watercolors. And unfortunately, I cannot show you guys my beginning watercolors, because they look like, I don't know, some type of squibbles, and a very confusing person because of patience. You don't have patience, that's what happens. So photo after photo after photo, I think after I was done with the whole book, then I realized, oh yeah, I have to take my time. So that's one thing. It's still faster, a faster medium than color pencils, believe it or not. One thing is also not to limit yourself as to just use one medium, but try to explore with all of them and see which one you like. Because like I said, watercolors tend to be a little bit unruly, and people lose their patience and they really don't like it because X is X, Y, or Y. So as for now, you have really cool demos. I think this is very helpful for some of y'all that want to learn. And of course, if you want to venture out with the color pencils, again, just get yourself something that doesn't cost much, that you're just going to practice and see how it goes. It's been a while that I don't do an actual demo with the drawing. I think it's also important. Prior of all of this, I would like to say something about drawing. If you, some people have like a misunderstanding when it comes to drawing. But if the truth is that in order for you to become a very good artist or a very good painter, you have to have the principle of drawing, at least the principle of drawing. If you don't have that part, you will be very, very disappointed, because the drawing itself is actually like basically what's holding it together. It's like if you were creating a body. We'll go back to the same whatever I was at when I was talking about, you know, this is how I paint. Like if you were constructing a human being, you need to have the skeleton in order for the muscles to be able to be attached to each other. And then after you have the muscles, then you add the skin and the details. So drawing for us is basically that skeleton. You don't have that basic principle of drawing. Regardless of how good you might look, you might act, or you might want to treat with watercolors, it's going to become very difficult. Which means that I was trained for a very, very long time to create and to draw first. So that's the only reason why I'm able to come to this point where I can actually do it without the drawing. But the drawing is very, very extremely important. And I still kind of, like you saw, I kind of just did a map of how I wanted things done. And believe it or not, I actually moved the eye too close to the beak. But that's something that, you know, we're not here to judge anybody, right? But I'm just letting you know that there's a thing behind it. You really have to know drawing. A lot of people say, well, I've seen artists, some people, they don't need drawing and they're great artists and people buy from them and all that stuff. Yeah, I understand that, but I'm just letting you know that at least a basic of drawing. For watercolors, you might have to get some drawing done prior of you moving on to the next. And you have to like drawing, because I feel like, and that happened to me too. When you're learning, you're like a kid. You just want to go straight to the last step. That's with everything. I think it's the human in us. And unfortunately, I have to go step by step in order for me to get to where I am right now. So drawing, I hated it because I knew that I had to cross hatch and I had to get with my putty eraser. And if I made a mistake, I have to erase all that part and all the charcoal or whatever it was going to be on my putty, whatever. Oh, thank you. Cool. Appreciate that. And later, as I struggle and I did several awful things, later on I learned to also appreciate and love drawing, to the point where all I wanted to do was drawing for a very, very long time. Then I got my charcoal lines. Thank you. My charcoal lines, and I started drawing people and figures and stuff like that with charcoal. So you gotta have a love, and I know it's like a process. Like I said in the beginning, it's hard because you get frustrated. And I think the reason why we get frustrated is because we compare ourselves with other people, and I think that's one of the worst things in any case scenario. If you're starting off, don't compare yourself to others. That's a whole different game. When you do something like that, it's like comparing a baby to Mike Tyson. So don't do that. That's one thing. And the other is like for every single, that's what I heard. I don't know. My son said that to me, but he might be lying. He said that in order for you to become, what's it called? Acquaintance with a skill, you have to practice it 100 times. Is that what you said? You said that to me, right? You have to practice it 100 times. That's what he said, but he might be lying. I don't know. That's what he says.
Maybe something like that.
That's what he told me. So I don't know what's the fact, isn't it? But I think that practice is key. All right?
As always.
Coolio, people. I'll see you guys later. Later, alligator. Because I am such a nerd. And so lame.
Oh.
It sucks. Alright. This is going to be the last picture. Please go back so you can, you know, hear and listen to my shenanigans and learn how we did this. And if you're interested, you can follow me on Twitter. All the info is on the actual description. This time I wasn't lazy and I put everything down. Again, you can donate to me if you like this artwork or if you want to buy the artwork as well. However, I'm not sending anything until further notice with the post office because of COVID. And also things are very, very slow up here. And I'm in Jersey, so I have to be very, very careful. And what else I was going to say? That's it. See you later, my friends. Thank you for watching. And enjoy the broadcast. And send me a hello if you have any questions. Please follow me on Twitter. My name on Twitter will be Maricruz19. Maricruz Art 19. Same name as here. Have a pleasant dreams, my friend. Take good care. Bye.